And then everybody who's in the academy needs to look at the trade and then explain whether they see something or what they don't. So for instance, let's say we have a Matic trade, right, or something like that. We'll just say Ape. And Ape has a 2 hour headed down, and someone's like looking for the first B trade, right, which would be the 1 hour, the 2 hour headed down, and then you need a confirmation, right, which would be the 15, the 30, and the 1 hour red moon, right? So let's say you're looking at Ape and you see the 2 hour bending, and you post Ape coin 2 hour headed south. Next thing you want to do is post how you would enter, right? And the reason why you're doing this is so that I can review it and understand what you're doing, right? Because it's when people say, hey, I'm doing all right, sometimes I'm winning a lot more, but every once in a while my entries are bad. And I say, okay, well, how are you entering? And they'll say, well, you know, sometimes I enter on the 5 moon, or I'll enter off the 15-minute RSI. And I'm like, there's only one way to enter, and it's always the 3-minute red moon or green moon with the trend. It's the only way to enter a trade. So I've realized that when we talk to everybody, that's the part we're missing. So we need to be more adamant about reminding each other about the steps that we take. So it would be ApeCoin, 2 hour headed south, waiting for a short, entering on the 1 hour red moon, 3-minute red moon, red trend, right? So if I looked at that trade, I could look at it and go, okay, so there's an ApeCoin 2 hour headed down. You're going to go for a short. You're waiting for, and maybe even adding the post like B trade, C trade, right? Like, so I know what you're trading, right? Like entering a B trade short, waiting for 1 hour red moon, entering on 3-minute red moon, red trend, right? Simple shit. And now at that point, when I look at that trade, I can see that you're waiting for the 1 hour. I know that you need to wait for the 3-minute red moon, red trend. And I can pretty much see that post and go, perfect. And I can review it and then say to you something like, all right, don't forget, wait for the 15-minute volume to be below the 4.5 line, right? And new people can hit that as well and say, yeah, I noticed that the 1 hour has a lot of volume, but the 3 hours headed up. All right, something where they can add in, and it allows everyone to analyze a trade, right? Because the trades that we post, and I was talking to Boogie about this, and people don't understand what it's not a call out group, right? When you see a trade called out, right, it's your job to analyze the call out, right? So it's a little bit different because it's like we're giving you, we're giving you some bait for the fish, but we're not handing you the fish, right? You still need to figure out the next part, right? And this will come when there's a call out about a coin or a trade, you see the, entering here, here, and here, right? It's pretty much breaking down how to get in the trade, but your job is to analyze the trade, right? The people that go in there, look at it. It's not to take the call out and be like, okay, I'm waiting on this trade. It's to go look at it and mention anything that you see that could be off, right? Or you can say, man, that looks like a good B trade. I'm waiting for the 1 hour bounce. We'll be entering on the 1 hour reset, right? So kind of like explaining what you're going to do with that trade. So for instance, I don't trade a lot of too many. So there's always 2 trades in a movement, right? So anytime there's a first trade, and we're going to review some trades, but when you see the first move in a trade, and let me pull up, let me share my screen here. Let me pull up Trading View. And I'm recording this too, guys, so you guys can see in there. But I'm going to share my screen here because I'm not really trading right now. And I want to show you kind of what I'm talking about as far as like what we're posting or what we're looking for, so that you guys can understand. There's multiple trades, right? So our job as a unit is to just remind each other constantly of the basics, right? And I think sometimes that's always why we go a little bit too far, and there's moments there, right? So for instance, I was looking at Young the other day, and he posted He got into STORJ. So I don't know if Boogie got a chance to see that, but I posted the video and I seen where he entered. You guys should go watch that video. But there was no green moon, green trend, right? So if he would have just waited for the basic entry, that thing went for 300%. Did you guys see that? Anybody see that video?
Yeah, I did see it.
Yeah, right. I mean, did you?
I saw it also.
Yeah. So I mean, did you guys, when I made that video, did it like make sense to you?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
this is why we want to call out trades, is because there's times that I'll be like, yo, what do you think about this? Or I'll put in something like this and be like, oh wait, but you don't have this. And you know, when we're looking at coins all day long, we want to get to the point where, you know what I mean, it becomes second nature to call them, but you can always miss something.
Yeah, and that's where the mindset is different, right? So everyone's looking at the Academy chat as a call out, but what it actually is, it's more kind of like a suggestion. Your job is to analyze that. So when someone puts a trade in the Academy chat, you should go look at it and see if it's a good trade, and if it's not, say something. Say something like, "Man, I don't that 1 hour got rejected," or there's a lot of volume there, or that 4 hour, you know, it still has a lot of room going up, right? And just point out things that you see. Now, what that does is it allows me to go through a chat and then analyze what you guys are doing immediately. And then I can give you videos for you to help you out so that you're getting personal coaching all the time and you're getting feedback. So now that the system's pretty much laid out, we got a bunch of things that we're piecing up, just finalizing, but they'll be in the Volume is King is going to become day one, and then all the videos in there will be basically the entire system. So everyone will be able to go back, watch the videos, the new videos, and basically put in perspective what we're doing. Because what I've noticed is that we kind of just missed the foundation of what we do, right? And the first thing that we have to do is understand how to post, why we post that way, and how to analyze a trade that's posted. It's not the trade that you want to get into. It's a trade for you to look at and then, you know, analyze. There's something wrong with it, point out what you see or ask the question. Yeah, I see that you're so if somebody just puts on Matic 2 hour RSI headed south, right? You could go look at that, take a look and say, looks good. The 1 hour is headed up, probably going to be a while. I would wait for I'm going to wait for the 4 hour to bend. Simple shit. And then I know that you took a look at the trade and then you're looking at you're waiting for an A trade. All right. So how the trades go, and you go watch the new videos, it's real simple. C trades are the trades that happen when there's like quick movements, right? Just a quick reversal, which is when the 1 hour starts to go down, the 2 hour starts to go down, and there's a 15-minute red moon or 30-minute red moon. It gives you a little bit of a move, right? Or a 1 hour, right? The B trade starts when the 4 hour crosses. That's the beginning of the B trade. The difference between a B trade and an A trade is simply volume. Okay? Volume is what fights you, right? And in the new videos you guys can go watch, you'll see where it's just a simple thing where it's like catching a fish. When you hook a fish, you start reeling it in, you think you got a good fish, and then it turns around and realize you're trying to reel it in, and then next thing you know, you realize you have a big boy on the line. And you got to give it line, right? You don't know how long you're going to fight that fish, but it's going to be a fight, right? So C trades are the beginning of the hook. You got to fight it out. You're just kind of wearing it down. B trades are when the 4 hour begins its cross. That way, it's the beginning it's the halfway battle, right? You got a good hook. The fish is getting tired. We're going to reel this in. Volume is the difference between a B trade and an A trade, right? Volume on the 1 hour. We know we got to break the 5 line. I like it to go below the 5 line, even the negative side. And, you know, B trades and C trades, you need the 15-minute volume, you know, getting your moons or breaking below the 4.5 line. So that's kind of the difference, and we'll go over that more. But
wait, real quick, just to clarify, if when you take the B, you got volume below the 5-ish on the 15. Mm-hmm. But you have it below the 1 hour. That's when you get into 8 territory?
Yeah. So I mean, the 5 line is kind of like, we should be pushing the 4, right? The further you're down on the 1 hour volume, the better. You know what I mean? And that's where the moons come in, right? The moons kind of let you know what the volume's going to be coming up, right? That's why you want to see a 15, 30, and a 1 hour. And that's letting you know, hey, we're going to see a dump in this volume a little bit. And then if it recovers, it stays a B trade. The next time it comes around, which would normally is the favorite trade I like, is when the 1 hour finishes an entire downward movement with the 2 hour and the 4 hour. And then it bounces while the 4 hour crosses. And then the 1 hour starts back down, right? Because then I have a B trade locked in, and the 1 hour starting to come back down is a more of a sign that it's getting heavier. It's a better situation, right? And I think kind of like the one thing I want to cover that we'll cover all the time is, we're going to cover how to post here and what it means, but I also want to cover where the simplicity of what we do, right? And I think this is where we have to always remember why we trade the way we trade, right? The system is designed to use leverage from 50, 75 to 100. When you start out, if you're getting kind of new and your entries are bad, use 50x. Use a 50x till you get, into your zone, right? But the biggest thing to remember is the reason why we use volume is because we get 500% more return. Meaning that if you're watching a trade in spot and it starts to hit resistance or some type of level, and you enter the trade at that point because you need to get in when the reversal happens or the rejection happens, because in order to make 5, sometimes the average trader only makes 4 to 5%, 10 if they're like having a good day, and they have to get in early to catch that trade, and they got to wait for that trade to play out, right? We completely forget about that because we make gains that are 30 to 200, right? And we kind of forget, what normal people do. You know what I mean? Like normal people, if they make 3 to 5%, they think it's the greatest day ever. You guys are cracking 20, 30. You don't even take profits because you want 300. Yeah. So it's kind of like you got to remember the concept, right? So we got to remind each other, right? And what it's all about is it's about mastering the 20% to 30% trade, right? So master the 20%, right? And what that really means is when you realize what we're doing here is that you have to get to the point where every single time you trade, you make 20% every single time. You never lose a trade, right? And the point of that is that 20%, right? Don't think about the money. If you're brand new and you're trading with $10 and 20% is $2 and you're like, it's not about the money. It's about this. In 3 to 4 months, when you master the system and you have yourself a $1,000 bag, right? Your goal is to get to 5,000, right? Because when you trade 20% on 1,000, it's $200. When you trade 20% on 5,000, it's $1,000. So you have to remember what your goal is. Your goal isn't to do 50, 200%, 300% gains. Your goal is to never lose a trade and make 20% every single time. Because when you make 20% on 5,000, I'm sure you can live with $1,000 a trade, even if you do 2 a week, right? It's 100,000 a year, right? So that's what we have to remind ourselves every day. We're not looking to be super killers out here, 600%, 1,000% gainers, right? Your job is to master a 20% movement, right? And that's why we have high leverage. The high leverage is designed to do one thing. It allows you to be super patient because you don't need to get into the trade when it first rejects. You don't need to get in the trade at the perfect entry. You need to get in the trade when it's falling. So think about this. If a trade is going to move 2%, you need literally 0.5% of that. So you have an entire area that you can hit and make your money, right? So you can get in 25% on the way down. You can get in there and ride it, another 25% and get your money and leave. You don't need the full pie. You just need to take the ride. So this is why, we should never jump early. We should never be early on something, because we can get in when it's falling and we know it's going down and just take the journey with it, because we don't need a lot to get paid, right? I think we just kind of get caught up in the concept of bigger wins, feels better. But in reality, bigger bags with smaller wins feels better, right? 20% on $5,000 is you're not gonna be unhappy when that thing says $700 to $1,000. You know what I mean? So keep that in
this
your.
This is even more so for the new guys for the 50x. You know what I mean? Like 20% on 100x is very easy, but 40x on a 50x is that 20. You know what I mean? So it's just as easily. You just gotta wait a little longer, but you have way more cushion on your stop loss.
Yeah, and a lot of times if you the thing about the 50x when you first start off, it's going to give you the cushion to make the error getting in early, and you'll be able to kind of see your mistakes, right? And that's the thing about posting correctly. If we're actually posting correctly, we're going to limit a lot of those mistakes anyways, right? But when you first start off, using 50 just to get comfortable will allow you to have a bounce here and there, and then eventually it runs the way you want it to run. And, setting up where, you're putting your stop loss in there at 20-25%, and you're taking your profit and you're setting it already for 30%, and use the stop loss system as it moves. Move your stop loss, right? When it gets to 15, move your stop loss to 0, meaning your entry point. When it gets to 20, move your stop loss to 10. When it gets to 27, move your stop loss up to 15. And if it breaks through 27 up to 30, you know what I mean? Move your stop loss to 20, and then, push your take profit, move from 30% to 40 as it continues to go up. So master moving your stop loss and your take profit number, so that way you can increase your runs, right? But keep in mind, the goal is just to make 20%, right? That's what your job is. Make 20%, move on to the next trade. So this is why we want to fix the way we post, so that we can actually track the trades and make sure everybody's on point. Right? This is about compounding your money, building your strategy, getting yourself in a position where you're making the right trades over and over. And then as your bags increase, you will see the profits that you want increasing, right? So let's take a look here. And one of the ones I want to look at, I like looking at coins that are having like big moves, because they're sometimes when they're in the inside the whale's den and they're being pumped and stuff like that, or the there's news and all that, it's the best time to kind of really test the system, to let you guys kind of see how things work, so that way you can see a coin, right? Because if you can master the coin movement on something that's pumping, like XLM was out of control, and when it was pumping crazily, if you can see how the system works inside here, then you will get better at your other coins, because the other coins will act a lot easier than this coin. This one had a lot of volume on it, and what this teaches you is how to be more patient, right? So for instance, we had a call out on XLM when it was pumping, and we seen this first wave come in, and it was making its second move up. And the first thing that we always look for is we're looking for that movement. So if you were watching XLM and it was pumping the way it was supposed to pump, right? And you say, hey, XLM is pumping. I'm going to wait for a 1 hour red moon, and I'm going to be looking for the rejection, right? So 2 hour coming down. So if we take a look here, we can see a couple places where the 2 hour bent and started its movement down. And guys would have posted like XLM 2 hour headed down. And in that particular time, let's take a look a frame here. And we can see here that when the 2 hour did cross over, right, there was some sections here that allowed it to make its move, and 2 hours are always yellow. And Let's get to another 2 hour. And then the 2 hour bounced. Rejected again over here. And it crossed there. Okay. So on your XLM, you have a 2 hour during a big push going up. You see it crossing over, coming down here. Hit the bottom, came back up, crossed over here. And so there were some big moves inside of this pattern here that the 2 hour was part of, right? So if you've seen the 2 hour crossing and you posted XLM 2 hour crossing, right? You would then post what your next move is, right? And that would basically be waiting on your movement, right? And normally that's going to be with a 1 hour red moon, right? So you would post 2 hour headed south, waiting for 1 hour red moon, entering 3 minute red moon red trend. So if you've seen that post happen, right, then I could have went and looked over here and I seen that you had a good call here. You did hit a 1 hour, and then I can take a look at that trade and see. I can simply slide to the 3 minute, and on that 3 minute I can see how you did or how that played out, right? So I slide to my 3 minute. I can see right here we have a 3 minute moon that hits, 3 minute trend that hits right here. So I can see that this actually played out pretty well, where if you did get into this trade, you had a little bit of a section here that you could have capitalized on, and that would have been about 80. So on 100x, you know, give or take, looks like it's about 70% gains. 75 would be 50, right? So, and this is what I'm talking about. Can you guys see my screen on Discord?
Yeah, we see you fine.
Yeah. So this is kind of what I'm talking about, right? So you see the 2 hour starts to head down here, right? And we get a 1 hour red moon in here. Now look at how much run we have here, right? Look at this run. Like if you got in at the perfect time, there's 279% gains. If you got in after the first candle fell and bounced, it's 228% gains, right? Let's just take this little section here. If you get in perfectly, 165% gains. You get in at the second candle bounce, which is about here, 110% gains. This is what I mean. Like we have all this area to make gains, but we don't need all that area. We literally need an area that's that big. So through this entire movement here, you could have been super patient and still hit your 20 to 50% gains. Like you see what I'm saying right there?
So, sorry, what's the same signal then here? Of when the red screen, you know, the layers on top, when the red starts, or what's the same situation?
That's the trend. That's when the trend starts, red.
Right. So if you're looking, so this, okay, so guys, just kind of like, if you see my chart right here, right? Now you guys have your trend, which will be a red and yellow or red and green line that goes through the candles, right? So when you change or you get the Alf has upgraded the VC Crypto Academy indicators, he sets you up with that. He just needs your trading view. Instead of me having a red and green line that go through my candles, I just have the entire background. All right, so this would be the trend changing from green to red. All right, so when you set up your indicators, the first indicator you set up is the trend indicator. This is this trend indicator, except I don't have a line. I have the entire background color.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the only difference. Now, the other thing that you guys see here, this blue line here, right? This is an indicator if you have a upgraded trading view you can use. This is the 20 moving average, right? And the white one comes with the trend. This is the 50 moving average. So this is the 50 moving average, right? Is that the 50 or the 200? This is the 200 moving average. And this is blue one is the 20. And the reason why I have the 20 in there is because we're going to go over the next videos we'll be making will be basically targets. Right, so we're going to cover some target videos in the uptake that we'll cover. So right here, guys, what I want to focus on is like we'll kind of go over, we're not going to go too deep into how we're making these trades. What I want to get down today is how to post correctly and how to understand the system, right? Because once you understand what you're doing, then you'll understand, that winning is basically a 20% gain. So this right here on 100x, that's a 50% gain. So let's get this down a little bit smaller. So right there. And we'll make it about there. So that way, if you're running a 75x, this is your goal. So this little box here is your entire goal. So this box from top down, we could have took this entire piece and you could have made this one little piece. Let me make a line right there. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I was going to say, in the top right-hand corner of this live session, there's like a show chat one, so you can see the chat. Can we post questions in there so we don't have to disturb you? And then when you get a chance to have a look over on the right and just.
No. You can. Yeah, they can talk, bro. Because that way we can get it. We're gonna record it, but that is a good. I think there is a chat up here.
I was going to ask. I didn't want to just stop you in the middle of talking. So I thought,
oh yeah. The first one with all the new people, right, that we get in here. It's good because it's they get their questions in and we can kind of roll through them. Yeah. So what we're doing here, guys, is really the foundation, right? And we're gonna hit this hard for the next couple weeks. It's gonna be where we're just focusing on how to post your trade correctly so that we can analyze the trade correctly, right? So every time you see a trade in the chat, how you post it, what you're supposed to say, how to analyze it, and then what you're trying to get out of it, right? And this other point here that we want to drive home is real simple. It's the basis of the system. Like this line represents profit, right? So it's as big as this box. So during this entire trade here, like you can see, you could have got in here and made your money. You could have got in here and made your money. You could have got in here and made your money. You could have let this bounce happen and got in here and made your money. You could have let this bounce happen, made your money. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 7 times in this trade that you could have made your money. So I want to bang that home because we should never enter a trade early. The reason why we use leverage, it's so that when a trade does move, right? Like this is the whole concept. So when a trade is going to move, right, an average of 4% or 2% or 1%, I can see a trade. I can let it trade move a whole 1/4% or even a 0.5%, and then I can get the second 0.5% and make 50%, minimum 25% gains. That's the point of the leverage. Leverage is designed to allow us to get on the ride when it's already going versus trying to be the best entry points, right? So that's the one thing we want to start getting in our head is that we should never enter early. There's plenty of time to make our percentages. We only need 20 to 30 to 50% gains on every trade. That's winning every single time. My job is to make 20% on every trade so that when I'm trading $5,000, I make $1,000 a trade. That's what we need to get into our heads. Because sometimes we get lost because we got too many people that, they do really well. Guys who run up 600% gains, 400% gains, 200% gains. And then we kind of get lost in that area where we need to focus on the small ball. Right? We need first downs. We don't need 89, 90-yard punt returns. We need first downs. 20% gains, 20% gains, 20% gains. The job is to master the basic system so that you can compound your money. So that's what we need to do because we got a lot of new people that came in, and now we just got to bring the chat back to where it needs to be so that when we post something in the chat, we all know what it is. And we all respond to the chat the way we're supposed to, and then understand that the gains that we're trying to make are 20 to 50% every single time. 20%'s a win, right? So,
and also real quick, VC, when you see someone call out a coin, And I don't know if House Money's in here, but that little stinker, every time I post something, he gets better entries than I do on the coin that I was calling out.
No, he
It
does.
doesn't mean that you jump on that trade. It means that you look at what someone's calling out, what they said, and go through it on your own trading view chart and see, make sure it has all the stuff. And if you want to jump in and be like, yeah, it looks good to me, I'm gonna jump on that too. Or you know what? Let's wait for that 3 minute to reset. Even though we got a red moon and red trend, we're catching this trade just a little bit too late. 5 minutes ago might have been the primo spot when everything hit. What if we waited for the 3 minute to reset? Or just little things like that gets us all accountable for the trade, and then that way we're not losing trades, not posting them, and wondering why we're losing and getting frustrated behind the scenes because no one can help you unless we know you got in one. No one wants to point out losses, but
Yeah, no. I mean, guys, like the whole point of the academy is so that you're posting what you're doing so that we can analyze it, right? It's okay to lose a trade, right? Just say to your mind, okay, I'm going to lose 3 out of every 10 trades. Perfect. You're a normal person, right? The only difference is in the system, when you lose, you're going to lose your 20% stop loss, but when you win, you're going to get your 40, 50% gain. So you're going to be okay in the system. It's not that big of a deal, right? But you have to post what you're doing so that you can get better, right? So don't worry about, if you put up a loss, post a loss, but make sure when you post, I can go back and see where you got in, right? And why that is so important is because if you're posting correctly, then a lot of times you're gonna get someone who looks at that trade that you're looking at and say, whoa, hey man, that 4 hours bouncing. It's something you might not even looked at, right? And you say, oh, okay, let me consider that, right? And then you can analyze that, when you do that trade, you can analyze it and see what happens, right? It's kind of like if somebody posted here, right? Like we're saying, like simple post, right? So if somebody was watching XLM, and you guys were watching it the other day, and I actually jumped in and we crushed the, I think House Money was with me on that one too, or Jimmy, the 3 hour red moon came in, and we jumped all over and got this huge dump. And all your job is to basically post what you see, right? So we operate off this. We post when there is a 1 hour change of direction on the RSI, a 2 hour, and a 4 hour, right? 1, 2, 4. You should be posting that anytime you see it, right? And then anytime that you are going to decide on a trade, then post what you're doing. So for instance, if I was watching XLM here, right, and I seen that XLM was pumping, and I said, you know what? The 2 hour RSI is at the top here. I would say up 2 hour RSI topped, waiting for 2 hour cross. We'll be entering off a 1 hour, looking for 1 hour red moon, hopefully for short, right? Very simple. And then I come back and I look and I see that the 2 hours crossing over. And now that I know that I have a 2 hour crossed over, and I know that my trade is starting to set up with the 1 hour, right? Then I would go, all right, I have a XLM 2 hour crossed, waiting on 1 hour red moon, entering off a 3 minute red moon, 3 minute red trend, right? And I know that that's a trade I'm going to take, right? Now, everybody inside the Discord should analyze that trade. And if we all took a look at this trade right here, and we took a peek and we seen what whoever was posting was talking about, we can start here and go, okay, 4 hour. Oh, the 4 hours at the top too. That looks pretty good. All right, so that's pretty good. And then I could see that the 2 hour is, crossing over, and I'm like, all right, that looks really good. And I could see the volume's kind of high on the 1 hour. So I would go there and I would say, all right, so this is more of a high volume trade. So this is considered a C trade, right? Now, I'm not a big C trade guy. So I would just mark that and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to come back when this gets a little better, right? So I would post, looks good for a C trade, right? If the person didn't put, doing a C trade, I would have posted, looks good for a C trade. I'm going to wait for the B trade when the 4 hour crosses, right? Now, what that does is it reminds the guy who's in the trade that there's a better trade coming, right? That he might want to wait for. And it also lets me know that you are aware of what trade you're looking at, right? So now I know your level of trades. You know what I mean? So now it's like, um, that's how we learn, right? So we know what you're looking at. So me, I would look at that. I would say, that's a good C trade. I'm gonna wait for the B trade, right? Period. So for me, I would see this trade happening, right? And I know this is on my watch list. I would then, go into same thing. Actually, this is exactly what I did the other day. I was looking at it and I was like, I'm gonna wait for the B trade, right? I'm gonna wait for the crossing of the 4 hour, right? And this is where we actually caught this a couple times because we've seen the 4 hour cross here, right? Now we got movement into the next level, which is going to be the B trade level, right? So the 4 hour starts to cross there. All right, so it started heating up. Now that's the trade that I was waiting for inside of those trades, right? So when the 4 hour crossed over, that lets me know that now what I'm waiting for is when I see that 4 hour cross, I would post, B trade starting to form on XLM, waiting for the 1 hour reversal on the RSI, right? And you could have looked right here, and Boogie knows, right? Like this is Boogie asked me like, yo, what's your trade on here? What do I always say? I like when the 1 hour bounces and then comes back down. All right, that's that trade, right? This would be a B trade right here. So when I post that, I would say, waiting on B trade about to happen. 4 hour just crossed, waiting for the 1 hour RSI to head back south, right? That's my entry. Entering, and at that point, I would say entering on a 15-minute red moon, 3-minute red moon, red trend. So you know that in this section here, when the 1 hour starts to go down, and I'm gonna put a little white trend here. This is where I would be looking, and as soon as that starts to head down, I would jump over to my 15-minute, and I would be looking for confirmation of this trade, which is what you see right there, 15-minute red moon, right? That's my confirmation. Boom, boom. So 15-minute red moon, there we go. I would post entering on 3-minute red moon, 3-minute red trend, 1 hour headed back south on B trade. So now anybody who looking at that trade can go in there and look at it and let me know if there's anything I'm missing or don't see here, right? And there's my red moon. Here's my red trend, right? So this is kind of like your box here of your trade. And this trade here ends up playing out for 173%. Now we did have a little bit of a bounce here, but my entry would have been right there. My stop loss 25%. That wouldn't have hit it, but that would have been my move right there. Now this little part of this trade, how much did that move? Yeah. So I actually would have had two trades here because you can see here, this was, I'm going to do 100x. So I would have got the 40% on that first move down, and my stop loss would have been moved to 25, maybe even 30% at that time. So when this bounce happened, I would have got taken out on that bounce, but that would have been okay with me because I would have made about 20%. And then I would have basically waited for the moon to reset on this, and I would have got back in on a red moon. So I would have said, stop lost out 25% on my first XLM short, waiting for 3-minute red moon to come back and red trend. And then boom, here's another short that you have, which ends up being the big dog of the short. And that goes for 128%, right? But what that allows me to do is go back and look at what you're doing and seeing how you're actually doing the trade, right? And that trade, I know that you waited for the red moon. Maybe you're waiting for the RSI, right? Basically 3-minute red moon, 3-minute RSI. I can go back and look at that trade and let you know how it did, and then post your 20% win, post your 30% win, right? That's what you're supposed to do. Now, XLM is still building up a trade here. Those are just the basic first ones, right? But that's how you post so that we can go back and evaluate. And so when you see something posted like that, remember, it's not your job to make the trade that's happening. It's your job to basically evaluate the trade and give your 2 cents on it, or agree with the trade and put down what you're going to wait for, right? Now, after this trade happened, we actually made money on this B trade. I then posted inside there, and Jimmy caught this. I said, well, I'm going to enter the next trade. I said, I'm entering the 3-hour red moon, right? So you see how the B trade happened? 3 hour red moon. When that 3 hour red moon came, that's what I was waiting for to tell me that it was starting to get weaker. So we actually tracked this entire trade here. And all we really did here is wait for that time frame to roll up. So when that 3 hour moon hit, we had the 1 hour was actually bottomed. So when that 1 hour rolled up, we just tracked this entire trade that night. And then we ended up catching that red moon again. But when you post correctly, it allows us to evaluate what you're doing, right? So when you're posting, post what you're doing, what you're seeing, and then if you're going to make a trade, post when you're going to make the trade, how you're going to make the trade, so that we can see it, right? And I'll put a list. It's real simple. You're just posting like 2 hour RSI south, 2 hour topped, 4 hour crossed, right? Or 2 hour crossed, 1 hour crossed, 1 and 2 hour crossed, right? 1, 2, and 4 hour crossed on XLM, entering short on 1 hour red moon, or 1 hour red moon already happened, waiting for bounce, right? So kind of evaluate what you're doing, so that way everything is set up to get where we can see what you're doing, right? That makes sense to everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to add one thing with the when you're calling them out. I mean, obviously, nobody wants to be in here for 4 hours looking for a trade. So eventually, if everybody's calling them out trades for review, or what do you guys think? The more and more that we all do that you come sit down for 15 minutes and you'll see 2 or 3 trades get called out for, and then eventually some of us are going to be like, oh shit, I like that one. And that's, what I mean? And then we'll all jump on it together, ride it out, talk it out as the trade forms, getting out. And then we all post our wins. Happy we did it.
It's team effort.
It's nice not to have to find the goal every trade you're on your own. But
yes,
if it is ready to go and a couple people agree, more heads on it.
More feedback, it's really about getting feedback. Remember, your job is to evaluate trades, right? Good, bad, ugly, whatever. And then post your opinion. And then I can explain. You might say something like the other day, somebody said, man, it's forming a W pattern. Now, I don't even talk about W patterns, but I was like, well, that W pattern won't work because the volume isn't there. Right? So I can easily correct that person and explain to them why whatever information they have is not going to work for what they're looking at, right? So that's why you have to post things that you're thinking or you're seeing, right? Stay in the system, in the zone, like waiting for 1 hour, entering on the 3-minute red moon, red trend, right? Post that stuff. So this way I know that you understand the system. I know that you understand how you enter a trade. I know that you know when a B trade is, a C trade is, or an A trade, right? Once you have all those down, then that's what we're looking for, right? And then post your 20%, 25% wins, because that's really what we're here. We're here to compound and put everything in there. Guys, if you're on TikTok and you're having trouble with the Discord, we did a little bit of house cleaning. Make sure you send an email here to vccryptonation@gmail.com. So that way you can get your access back. You have to send information to that Gmail right there. But
VC.
Yeah.
Sean here. One question. So when you were covering this, interesting. When we're talking about 3 hour, you said you and Jimmy were, you guys jumped on the 3 hour. So when you see the 3 hour red moon, is it always that you wait for the 1 hour red moon as well before you go? You just go if you see the 3 hour red moon, you go on 15 and 3.
So basically the way I trade is real simple, right? I don't want to mess with a C trade. I mean, because if I'm trading, if I'm in a zone and I'm kind of like enjoying my day, I'll make some C trades. But honestly, the ones I really want to just take advantage of, right? So that's why we have 2 bags, right? So when you guys watch the video, your small bag's your small bag, your big bag's your big bag. I'm going to make a video on that after this, kind of breaking it down, right? So take a small bag. If you want to trade some C trades, some B trades, master your entries, master moving your stop loss. That way, at least you're in the game out there. And a small bag is real simple. It's a $10 bag out of 100, right? So when you start off, everybody starts off with $10. When that $10 gets to 20 or 30 or 40, you keep $10 for a small bag. So you keep doubling up your main bag from 10 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 80, but you keep your small bag at $10. So when you get to 100, you have a $10 small bag, right? When you get to your 200, you know what I mean? You can move your small bag to $20, right? So kind of keep it at that 10% mark and just move that up. And what the small bag is made to do is to allow you to trade C trades, some B trades, and get yourself into rhythm with moving your stop loss, moving your profit, and kind of like getting all that put together, so that way you don't feel like you're not getting trades in. And what that'll also do is it'll help you realize that you're making a lot of small trades, and your entries will get a lot better, but you also realize that, you know, it's kind of a battle there. And then when the A trades come along, then you use a bigger bag, use your big bag, right? And that's when you score your profits and you kind of move on. So when you make 7 A trades in a row, you double your bag. So for you, Shane, it's just kind of like this. So the way I like to trade is like XLM. XLM is a perfect example of what was going on out there, because it was a very heavily traded coin. So for me, when I first seen XLM pumping, the only thing I was waiting for my very first trade was the 1 hour red moon, right? That's my first trade. 1 hour red moon means I'm getting some type of pullback with the 1 hour RSI at the top. It happened to hit with the 2 hour. So that's exactly what I wanted. I get that pullback. Now, as that kind of like fades up, you know, there's going to be another bounce in there. And a lot of times I tell guys you can get a bounce with your high volume, which this was. You can get a green RSI 1 hour pushing up with the green moon. You can take that quick push up right there. And then once again, there was another 1 hour red moon that came down. Now this one, I didn't take in there because it was in between the 2 hour as well. So we kind of just waited that out. Now as he started to move across, you can see that the 1 hour was starting to push up for us. And this is where we were kind of like scoping out the next reminder of a big move, right? So we can see we had a 2 hour there, a 2 hour green hit here. And then Jimmy posted that the 2 hour red moon would hit, right? And now we can see there that we got the 2 hour headed down. We got a 2 hour moon coming in. The moon just lets us know that the volume is dropping heavily on what we're looking at. So we're able to take advantage of that. All right. So that's kind of like the next move. So I like to have the 1 hour moon for the first retest. Then I like to go to a 2 hour moon, which is right in here, for the next move, right? Which is more of a pullback. You can see right here, you had a 2 hour moon right here that you could have took advantage of. I didn't catch that one. I was already out, but that moon right there paid off. And then you got another 2 hour here, but the RSIs have to be rolling with those 2 hours. I like to grab the 1 hour pullback with the 2 hour. And then I like to see, to me, when I get a 3 hour red moon, to kind of answer your question, it signifies that we're finally at the halfway point, or the point where the coin is finally about to become an A trade, right? So to me, the 3 hour moon is kind of the beginning of the A trade, right? It signifies that volume should be going down. Now, the reason why I like this XLM is because there was a moment here that this was supposed to be the drop. Okay. So you had a coin here that came in. You have a red 3 hour moon. This trade should have been the Jim.
Yo, big dog, mute your mic.
So when this trade hit here, normally when you see this 3 hour red moon here, that should have been the A trade. This actually should have came all the way down, right? Oh yeah, so this is the trade we got in, right? Yeah. So Jimmy called this out. This is like right at the end of the night. Yeah, we did catch this. So this was the A trade. We caught the 1 hour red, then we caught the 3 hour. I didn't get this one. This is the one I missed. But we caught this one here. So this was the one trade. Jimmy called it out. Said 3 hour red moon on XLM. It was like, man, it was kind of late at night. And we caught this trade here. Now that should have been the A trade. So that's the trade I was really heavy in, because this trade should have been the A trade, and it paid off. Look how far that fell. You see that? Now, the problem was, because this is a hot coin, right? When this fell, instead of running out like this one did, what happened was there was a bunch of retail investors that bought into this lower support area here, right? So there was a bunch of orders that came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden it pulled it back up. And then the people who didn't sell here sold here, and then people started basically thought that was a drop back, and then they started buying here. All right, so this is when you see a heavily traded coin, you'll see these weird moves that happen. And then when everyone realized after this, normally you get a double top here and you come down. This was a 4 top. Hit up, double top, should have fell. Another pump come out of nowhere, came down, and then all of a sudden they pumped again, right? And kind of like, that's when everyone was like, oh shit, we got to get out of this coin, right? And that's where you can see the volume here on the 3 hour finally broke down. Yeah, we caught this 3 hour red moon. Jimmy caught that one. He called that out, and I was actually right next to the PC, and I saw him call it out. I was waiting for that one. So we caught the first 1 hour. I like the 3 hour, right? So to kind of answer your question, I'm a 3 hour red moon guy, and I was talking to, I was kind of pointing that out to Boogie the other day, like, yo, if you wait for the 3 hour, right, that's always going to give you your confirmation of how weak something is, right? So I like to trade the 1 hour RSI with the 1 hour red moon, the 2 hour RSI, 2 hour red moon, as long as the confirmations are coming in, which would be that 3 hour red moon. That is normally the A trade. Now, because of this trade was so hot and you had a bunch of people thinking it was going to the moon or some shit, they put a bunch of buy orders at the wrong time, and they caused this second pump to come out of nowhere. But then finally the A trade happened, which was this giant fall down. So that's why when you're in the trades, make sure that you're watching it. You're going to catch these trades, set your move, your stop losses, take your profits. But then if it starts pumping again, track it down. Now, unfortunately, this was 3, 6, 9. What do we have? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So this almost went 24 hours, almost 18 hours before it actually fell down again. And it fell down when the 3 hour RSI finally made its move up and then got exhausted. Right? But this isn't a typical move. This is a move based on people just overbuying something because they thought it was going to just keep running, whatever the news was or some shit. But that's
so
where,
because this one was a little funky, will you check volume on that C and B, or at least the B?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see if it makes sense on the 1 hour, because I remember this day too. It was pumping hard.
You remember when Jimmy called out the 3? Remember I told you I'm getting the XLM.
It was late for me. I caught a little mini guy, but you guys were on it later.
Yeah, and I said, listen, I'm gonna get the 3 hour red moon, and I was like,
so VC, my question was, I know you explained everything, but I just want to understand once more on this, that when you go on the 3 hour red moon,
mm-hmm.
do you also check the 1 hour red moon, or you go 3 hour red moon, that's good enough, then you go on 15 and 3?
No, you work back, right? So once you see the 3 hour red moon, you want you then move to your 1 hour, make sure it's moving with you.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Yeah, because remember, the bigger time frames are telling you what's happening in the next, it's times 3. So if a 3 hour red moon hits, that could be up to 9 hours. So when you move to the 1 hour, that's giving you an idea what's happening in the next 3 hours. So you want that definitely, you always want the 1 hour going with you. You don't want to trade against the 15 minute or the 1 hour. Now, the only difference is if volume is completely gone, then the 1 hour won't be able to fight back. Right? So for instance here, that's what we're talking about when we saw this, the 1 hour hit here on the 1 hour moon, right? That just means that volume's going to drop. Now remember, we don't need a lot of movement to get paid. That's why we take advantage of this 1 hour volume, even though it's not at its 5 line, but we take that drop. That's why it's a C trade, right? Small bag, because you're taking a higher risk. Then when the 4 hour comes over here, this is your B trade. We notice here that the 1 hour is starting to move up here, right? Then you would enter when the 1 hour breaks down, because you're taking advantage of the first movement of the B trade. Right? So even though the volume's a little bit high here, right? Now, if you were like, for Boogie's point, Boogie's checking it out. This is where I'm telling you, like, you don't have to enter or be perfect. So if you actually waited here until that volume broke below this 5 line, it would have been somewhere in this candle, right? Which would probably be somewhere in here. At the end of the day, if you waited all day for that to happen, that's still 82%. You let that always sink in, guys. You're never too late.
And there's wick below it too.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Moon
that's
override.
yeah. Let's say that wick happened and you were kind of slow because like that volume happened, like that wick happened with the volume. So if you would have got in anywhere in here, worst case scenario, if you didn't set your stop losses or whatever, I mean, you could have easily made. I mean, if you catch it and you do it properly, you're about 169%. But just being a normal person doing it, you have a 86%, at least 40% on 75. You see what I'm saying? But the point I want to drive home on that is that you're never too late. Right? Think about how many times you've been early. Right? Like all your losses are because you're early.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was asking, just on that example right there, I would have probably not taken that trade because I would have been worried about the volume. The volume was at 20, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. So when you got the 1
moon
hour,
overrides the volume. Is that right?
so that's what Boogie was kind of looking at. So when this 4 hours started to come down, right, and you would have watched the 1 hour. See how the 1 hour starts to come down right there, Anthony? Like most guys would have looked at that and said, okay, this is my trade here. Now, if you jump that early, you know, you're still going to be all right because you have your 1 hour red moon. You got your 1 hour breaking down. You know, it's a shaky, right? It's about 75%. It's still an upper B trade. And that's what I was saying to your point was, let's say if you were watching this the entire time and you're waiting for the volume, right? And right here, you can see, and we'll make this green. You can see right here that the volume does dip on this candle, right? Okay. So on this candle here, we did get a dip. So if we're rolling over to the 15 minute, we can see the volume on the 15 minute here. See how it's below the 4.5 right here?
Right, okay.
So you would have been good to go on your volume way up here. Right? So that's what I'm saying. Like you had this, there's like, if you're completely patient and you wait for the volume to go down the 4.5, that would have been here. You still have an entry up at this level here, right? Let's say that
it's B volume, not A volume.
Right. It's a B trade, right? B trade is basically yeah. So B trade.
If you do it below the 5, is it one more confirmation on top of the previous ones?
No. Okay. So remember, in order to get the short started, right? Minimum. You want on a 15-minute time frame, okay? You want the time frame to have a 15-minute red moon, a volume below the 4.5, okay? That trade is considered, but depending on what zone it's in, could be a C trade or a B trade. Most of the time, that's going to be a B trade, okay? Now, what is a B trade? A B trade means that it's not going to fall all the way to the floor like you want. And you need to be prepared to take profits, and you need to be sharper on your entries, right? The difference between a B and an A, right? When we have an A trade, that means we're going for bigger profits and using a bigger bag. What that really means is the A trade, the only difference between a B and an A trade is volume. Once the volume breaks below the 1 hour 4 line, right? We say 5, but honestly, you should be waiting to 4. You know, you want it the lowest to the center, right? Almost a negative. That is an A trade, right? An A trade is simply a trade that has been exhausted and it doesn't have enough volume to fight back. Okay? Looks just like a B trade, right? Except it's exhausted or it's getting to exhaustion. A B trade still has fight in it, right? So for instance, see the volume here? So when you make your first trade, right? Here's a B trade, 4 hours coming down, right? Everything's happening the way you want it. You see that you have a red moon. Everything goes the way you want. You go to get in this trade, 15-minute red moon. Your job is to look at the 15-minute volume. It's below the 4.5 line, which it is. You wait for it to go negative, right? So this is what I'm talking right here. So Anthony, even if you waited for it to go negative to be super safe right here, right? You guys are still in this trade up in this upper area, right? So on this trade, you know, you're still looking at a 200% gain area. This is still a 200% gainer. Now, if you wanted to be super safe, right, and you say, I don't trade B trades, right, because this is a B trade. A B trade is 15-minute volume below the 4.5 or negative, right? Let's say that you don't do B trades, right? And you're like, you know what? I like B trades, but this is going to be a small bag. So you do a small bag, it hits, right? And you're like, cool. The A trade is going to be when we have the volume negative right here, right? So that's what we were talking about is when we seen the volume go negative on this big candle, it was actually in this area here, right? So now when that happened, if we slide over to our 3-minute, because we don't have to check the 15 on there because we already have the volume's already below negative on our 1 hour. So now when we slide in here, the only thing I really need is I need a 3-hour red moon, 3-hour red trend, right? Which is the zone here. And you can see right there, we already have our 3-minute red trend. So the moment I get a red moon, I'm in because I come over here. I'm somewhere in here would be where you'd see it. You'd have a red moon. You could either, if you got early, you would make a trade in this zone here, right? Still a winner. But even if you got here and it was a green moon, or you waited for the 3-minute RSI to come up, and then you see that you get a green moon, and you wait, and as soon as the red moon hit, you would have been in here somewhere over here anyways. See what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you still would have got this portion here. And that portion, without even taking that wick, it's still 167%. Right? So that's what I'm trying to get through the heads is like, remember, step 1 here is never be early. Right? Never be early. And just so you guys know, we're going to have a lot of green today just because those dips were terrible. So look for a lot of like bounces.
And real quick, before you leave that spot,
Mm-hmm.
leave your thing there. So, and this is what I think, and I heard some frustration with some of the newer guys. We were talking on the live chat yesterday. All right, so when you got in, right, when DC said with the red moon and the red trend, right, or I guess the moon reset. So that it came up a little bit and then it went down. Now, as soon as you get in, you're setting your take profits so that when that move happens, you get your money. Because if you're still fumbling through the trade, you see how fast it came right back up? What is that, 10 minutes? Now it's back in the green, and you lost half of that if you hadn't had your take profits set ready. And then look how it just keeps going up, and then you're like, you're sitting in the trade for an hour, and eventually you lose it.
You lose it.
Because it never comes back down to that spot. Like, you have to set your TPs, whether you're going to take 1 or 2 or even 3, but as soon as you start moving your stop loss to the positive, this is how it'll go down and then eventually get you back out and not have you sitting there staring at it for 4 hours and then you eventually lose it. I mean, I know Richman has, he has a lot of the, they're trying to figure out, like, how do I get out with my money? I've seen the money, but then I wait too long and I get stuck staring at a trade for hours.
You got to be automatic. Got to be automatic, because that's why I think that's what we're talking about is like. So what Boogie's telling you guys is, Boogie's just letting you know, you guys need to set your as soon as you walk into a trade, the first thing you do is hit the plus sign. You put stop loss at 25. You put take profit at 50, right? Or you put it at 100, right? And then first thing you do, and then you get out of your trade and you look, and while you're doing that, it might hit 100. Yeah, it might hit 100 by the time you get looking around, right? But the thing is that, boom, it hits your money and you're done, right? Because this actually, Boogie's...
The great thing about XC is that we can do it when we make the trade, too.
Yeah.
When you open up the trade window on the far right side there and you expand out, there's the option to, you click the little button next to short TPSL, and you can tell it 50% right at the get-go, and minus 20% on your stop loss or whatever you want to make it right there, and then as soon as you make your trade, it's already there, it's already set.
Yeah, and we'll do another video on that one for the guys on the future side. Let's take a peek in here.
Because you're already going to know if you're going long or short right off the bat. You click whichever one you're going to go right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can just put them in here. No, you can.
You're going short.
You can post
got
whatever you
ROE
want.
right there on the right hand side,
Yep.
and you just hit you hit. You can actually change that.
Yeah, you can just type it in.
Right, but you can change that so where it says take profit on trigger price last, I think it is. I think if you hit that arrow down button there where it says take profit on price.
Oh yeah, you're talking about right. Yeah, you can go here last price, first price, but you can also profit and loss.
Right.
So they made this easy where you could put money if you want. You could put the money.
Yours looks different than mine. Mine comes up with a whole drop menu. I'm trying to figure out why ours is different there. I'm on limit.
Might be the upgrade.
They recently upgraded.
Yeah. They did an upgrade
Yeah,
now that they have all
let me
this.
show you what I'm thinking, because mine's completely different.
Yeah, this is the new one. You might want to like log
You
out.
remember too, VC? This we had this issue like 6 months ago. Someone couldn't. The right side of the screen looked completely different. There was like one little thing that was changing this. I don't know, forget
In
what
the
it
settings,
was, but
right?
it was something silly.
Well, I mean, I like it like the way I've got mine. It's really helpful because here, let me share my screen real quick. I'll show you. Can you see my screen?
Hold on.
No.
There we go.
No?
He's sharing it
Okay,
now.
it's a bit wrong.
There you go.
No, yeah, we can. No, just gotta grab your stream there.
Oh yeah, they got you on the old one. Yep.
Yeah, but I'm on the web page.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this makes it so easy because you just come in here, you click that, you click boom 50, boom 30, and go with it. Open short.
Yeah. But that's
Okay, I'm going to say something that perhaps when you get a little bit more experience or you want to make money, sometimes you want to rush in.
Right.
So sometimes I find that very difficult because I'm going to miss the entry. It keeps dropping, right? I want to catch it. So I don't use that. I jump in right away. But again, following the VC system, the minute I get my position, I should better get in there right away and do my stop loss at minus 30.
You go straight to this, right?
Otherwise, you're just gonna you don't want to not do that because it can spike back, and it happened to me multiple times, and that's the reason Young was liquidated a few days ago, and VC covered that, and then I did the same thing right after watching the whole video. I'm like, yeah, Young is so silly, and I end up doing the same thing. But anyway, you got to set your stop loss even if you go after the trades.
Yeah, I mean, any way you go, you set the stop loss. I mean, that's what I was saying earlier today in the chat. I was going after, I forget which coin I was at the time, and I was like, and I called it out, and I'd taken an early entry with like 2% bag just to throw it in there, and because it looked like it was going to go, and it went down. It made it up to about 20%, didn't quite hit my 25%. And then reversed and hit my stop loss at 6%, because that's where it got into at that point. Because I was creeping my stop loss up as it was going down. So, but I shared that. I was like, yeah. So I at least got 6%, but and basically zeroed out my trade. But it was better than losing 20%.
Yeah, and that adds up, right? I mean,
yeah.
You got to think like this. I think the biggest thing that we have to remember is like. We're waiting for to get through the next couple months of the craziness, but the next time when you get this Bitcoin halving and they pump the market and it doesn't matter what even if the economy hasn't fully recovered, they're going to make a big deal out of it because that's what they're going to do with it. But at the end of the day, if you're getting into the next run, whether it's 6 months from now, a year from now, right? Every $100 that you have is worth 1,000. So you have to be very, understanding of your money and kind of like remember that, it's like, okay, you have to remember that it's about, always taking in some profit, right? We don't want any losses. We just want constant, break evens and wins. And
is this all these strategies are for the down market, But
Yeah,
later on, if you have bull market, what happens then?
well, I mean, when it goes bull market, they just keep running. Yeah, so I
But
mean,
this A trade and B trade and C
Mhm.
trade,
they'll
that
be
will
the
not
same.
work then, right?
They're all the same. They'll just be bigger.
Larger.
Yeah, like it'll just like how when you're trading with them, they'll be bigger amounts. That's the one thing about them.
And also, we'll be hunting longs, not shorts, because
Yeah.
it's going to be pumping, and you can't take a long without a lot of volume.
Yeah,
That's why we say, volume is king. And DC made those videos that just resonated with so many guys because
Yes.
if there's volume, then it can always have you'll hear us say the last hurrah, right?
Yeah.
It'll wick you out when you got in too early because of the volume. Now, when it comes to longs, if there's no volume, then you can't expect it to go long. Like, look at that XLM trade. It was pumping. Look at it, had crazy volume, even
Yeah.
on the 3 and 4 hour. You know what I mean? So, if that answers the question, come the bull market, we're gonna all be pros, and we're gonna be laughing our way to the bank.
It'd be a lot of money.
A lot of money in the bull market. And this is why you have to protect your money now. Like don't waste money trying to learn to trade. Use your small bag for C's and B's, and that's just so that you can get into rhythm with how to make a trade, how to close out properly, how to move my stop loss, how to do everything that you need to do. So that way you become a master of your tools, And then on the A trades, when you're seeing the A trades come in, use the big bag. Take advantage of the bigger moves, but those are safe moves, right? Those are better trades, bigger money, easier to take advantage of, right? But we always got to remember, it's like every 20% trade, those are wins, right? Your goal is to be a 20% trader. It sounds crazy in our Discord because everybody's like, when I look at the stupid rundown of the thing, is that we get too carried away with so much, so the wins are so big, right? But that's not like real life. You know what I mean? Like you get, like it's so funny. Like you check out the what's going on out there, and it's like, a lot of the guys, every time they're in a trade, they catch these runs, they catch these moves, and things just keep going, right? But we just, we're always at a 99, 100, 50, 60, right? There's always such big trades. Good job, anyways, man. 100, 150%. Wolf on the.
That was back to backs. I clipped out at 100 and because on the stop loss, and then I got lucky, jumped back in because it was still rolling and let it roll to and grabbed it, just hit it at 150 and it rolled out right through.
Yeah, and that's kind of where
I think it probably would have gone to 200 if I'd left it, but I just said let's not get too greedy.
Yeah, just move your stop loss up. Put your stop loss at 130 and let it ride, and put the take profit at 2, and just stay behind 30%. And then when you get into the 200, start moving to about 20%.
I try to stay around around 20%. So yeah, I got you.
Yeah, to run it out.
That was a great video on take a profit.
Yeah.
Numbers.
Yeah, and that's what we got to remind the guys. Like I'm cleaning up that, like, the volume is king video will become day 1, and those videos will be just the simplicity of what we're doing, keeping it real simple, not overdoing it, posting the way you're supposed to post, so that everybody can simply keep understanding what we're doing, right? So that's kind of what we need, like, everyone to focus on, is post correctly, so that we can review and understand what the Discord is. The Discord is basically
stop loss at 6% on Anchor.
Yeah. And remember, when people post trades, they're not for they're for trades for you to review and get into, but it's also for trades for you to analyze, right? If you see something wrong, or let's say someone's taking a C trade or a B trade, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to wait for the A trade when the 4 hour crosses. I'm going to wait for volume on the 1 hour to break the 4 line, right? And just put that reminder. What that does is it reminds you to stay focused on what you're doing, and it reminds them, like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, maybe I'll wait on that, right? If someone says, oh, entering a short on XLM 1 hour red moon, right? Then you go back and say, are you entering on a 3-minute red moon and red trend, right? Remind them. That's what the
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Looking at audio right at the moment.
Okay. Let me take it up.
4 hour pumped up a hair and then it dropped back down. But it's still, well within the original 4 hour.
Yeah, so here, so let's say, so right here, okay, here's a perfect ideal, right? So let's say you looked at this, right?
Right.
And you've seen this, and you would say, here's your 1 hour at the bottom, right? And
Yep.
you would,
Well, the 1 hour is coming up to the top now and starting to bend a little to the. So that's why I'm looking at it to go. Okay, it might be coming up in the next half hour to an hour.
yeah, but it's just finishing its last dump here, right? So,
Right.
and that's, see right there, so I'll call out the crosses, right? Because this is just a bend, and that can easily bend straight up and not be there when someone goes and looks, right? So here I would
Right.
basically, if I seen the 4 hour, I would say audio 4 hour bottomed. I'd look at the 2 hour and say the 2 hours crossing, right? And then I would take a look and see if there's a 1 hour green moon, right? So that's the trade I would be looking for. So this would be, you would go into your Academy chat, right? And what is it? Audio. Okay. Audio. 4 hour bottomed. 2 hour crossing. Waiting for 1 hour green moon. Possible long. Right? That's just the
Okay.
basic, because you're not in a trade, but you're just like looking at it. So now if I'm going through here, I can see that you just posted that. I can slide over to audio. I can look there and I can see where the 1 hour is starting to bend down, right? And I can say, ooh, this might be weak. Now what I'm looking at is the volume. See?
Right.
So I might say, you know what, this might have a last hurrah in it. This doesn't look that strong. And then I would slide over to the 30 and I would say, ooh, we got a 30-minute green moon, but that failed to do anything, right? So this is where when you guys look at something, go back through, right? Take a look at all the 30-minute green moons. Here's a 30-minute green moon here. Like, you see how much it was able to do? See the 30-minute green moon here? See the bottom RSI? 30-minute, look how much it moved, right?
Yep.
You can see that the volume pushed up. 30-minute moon here with the RSI here, pushed up here. 30-minute moon here with the RSI here. Another big push, came down. Now, what's the difference here? The RSI is already headed down.
Yeah.
You see? So this is where it's like, okay, this is starting to level out here. Like, this is more than likely probably going to come back down in these areas. I'll take a peek and say, shit, if it retouches or retests here, this could be 150%, right? So it's an interesting trade to look at because it has a possible long, but we could also get a continuation of a short here, all depending on how the 1 hour reacts.
That's why I was asking
Yeah.
about it, because I'm kind of like, it's in that zone where I don't know which way it's going to go.
Yeah, because
It depends on how.
and this is another
Oh,
one,
yeah.
like this would be a C trade, right? Because it's not an
Okay.
A trade because we don't have like there's not a big area to make money. It's a 50-50. I mean, even though it has 150% possibility of profits, right? It's just a smaller situation. And it's like, how much more can it fall? Well, it can fall 150%. Now, keep in mind, a small bag's $10 every 100, right? So you take $10 right here, double it to 20, or maybe even get it to 30, and you're like, okay, that wasn't a bad small bag, right? Because you're collecting that small bag money, you're building it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is a good trade to practice on and take a peek. For me, this is where I would look at the smaller time frames, and I would be deciding on when is the value. Because okay, when you're looking at a 15 or 30 minute size trade, you can't really tell what the beats are doing, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide down to the 3 minute because I want to see, is the 3 minute getting stronger or weaker, right? So here's a 3 minute green moon, right? RSI pushes up. That was a good value. Comes down, green moon again. Not the greatest push. That would have let me know, like, see here how the 3 minute here had a big push, came back down, then this small push happened. And I was been like, well, that's not too bad. And then it had this red moon with a big fall. The next green one should have been bigger if it was going to continue. But the fact that it was very weak here let me know that more than likely I'm probably going to get a drop here, right? Which we got. So then now this green moon had a pump. This green moon had a small pump. And now this green moon This is where I'm going to evaluate how strong this is, right? So now I'm looking to see, are we in this little, consolidation zone? Because these are all looking the same. You see how they're looking the same?
Yeah.
So I'm feeling pretty confident that more than likely this trade is probably going to end up somewhere in this area here to be a long, right? And I'll drop it down a little bit more, see if there's any like sections here. So I would look at the top of these just for targets, and I would say, okay, maybe I'm looking for an entry on a long somewhere in here, right? So that's what I would be thinking to myself as far as like if I'm looking for a long, because I want that 3 hour green moon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is about a 50% move down, but it's not worth the risk of trying to get that trade, because the 4 hour, when I look at the 4 hour, I can see that the 4 hour is already at the bottom. It hasn't like bounced up. Now, if the 4 hour is up a little bit and heading back down, then I would think about a short there. But the 3 hour hasn't even made a move, and the 2 hours pushing up. So I would just look at this zone of not a short, but I would be thinking to myself like good possibility of a long somewhere off of this section here, like a retest. That's where I would be looking to buy longs in this section here. And my entire thing would be when the 15-minute green moon hits right here, you can see here, that shows me my first move. You can see I got my first pump up here. 15-minute green moon, right? That's the one I would have made a long on. It already happened. So there's the first push, right? Let's see how much that was. That wasn't bad. That was 100%. Now, it pulled back, and normally this is a good sign when it goes halfway, comes back, and tries to push. But you can see right there it failed the second time, and then it gave back that profit. But it didn't fall all the way down. It's already regained, right? So because of that 15-minute, I can see that we're starting to build an upward trend in here. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
Now, my only thing is this is the 20 moving average right here. You guys can add that if you wanted. My whole thing is that once the 20 starts to move up, right, I would want this to get above it, push above, retest it, and then that would be more of a long scenario. But in this area here, you're just sitting in dead man, like no man's land, right?
Right.
The only thing I would be thinking about is like getting a long position on the 1 hour somewhere off of this line here. So somewhere in here I would be looking here, these box right here. So if I was thinking about getting a long, I'd be setting some buys off this bottom wick here and say, okay, that's my target area right here. But what I'm really waiting for here is we already had a 15-minute, which is good. The 30-minute is, see how the 30 is headed down, but it's gaining. So it's starting to find itself here, right? So my move is basically I want a 1 hour green moon, right? So until the 45 goes down and comes back up, I'm not going to get my position for my long. But this should be the way it's consolidating. We should have a pretty good solid 1 hour moon here, which should jump somewhere off of here and at least target the top of this retest.
Right.
And give us something like 100% move there. But I wouldn't take the chance on that short just because it just doesn't have enough there's not enough meat on the bone for me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of like audio. So that's why when I posted the thing, I'm like, bottom 2 hour crossing, waiting for 1 hour green moon, possible long. I would look at that trade. I would look at it and say, yeah, more than likely it's probably going to be the 1 hour green moon. Because I would look and see that you already have a 30-minute green moon, a 15. So I would have normally, if you didn't have a 15, I would have said, you could probably jump on a 15-minute green moon, which would have happened right here. That would have been 100%. It already happened, so I wouldn't have said that. So I would agree with you that this is a possible long here, just waiting for that, right? So I would say you're going to stay in this zone here and basically make your move up from here. But I wouldn't take a chance on that. It's just
Thanks for going over.
Yeah, it's just not enough meat, right? So you want to keep saying to yourself, like, I can wait for something, right? So here's another thing I want to cover for you guys. Because I think it comes down to posting correctly, right? So let's say if you're a new person, right? You seen the audio 4-hour bottom, 2-hour crossing, and you went there and looked. Now your job is to look and say, do you think it's going to continue to go down? Maybe we missed something. You look here and you see the 15 minutes already hit. You see the 30-minute already hit. That could also be a sign that possibly this is already still weak and this could fall down because the 15 hit and the 30-minute hit, but nothing really happened, right? See how short that is? That could be a sign that, that's pretty weak, or a sign that we're just at the bottom of consolidation. I would look at, as a new person, take a look at my daily. See my daily's headed down. We just got that daily. I'd be like, oh, it's probably going to fight this little area. I don't see anything different than what you posted. So I would probably stay in that zone and say, 1 hour green moon. I'll come back and look at that. So there's nothing for me to add here. I would just post on and move on. That's how easy you can post, right? And if somebody sees it, put a thumbs up. It sounds good. All right.
BC, you made a very good point just a second ago about daily. Could you, I know this is not the topic for daily, but could you just very quickly just touch up on that?
Yeah.
When do you use daily in your favor?
So daily, remember, so all time frames are designed to give you like a 3 times view, right? So every time you're looking at a 1 minute, it's about 3 minutes of what's happening. Every time you look at a 3 minute, it's 9 minutes of what's happening. You know what I mean? It's times 3. So when I look at a daily, right, I kind of look at it like, okay, so over the next 2 days, it's going to be hard for audio to kind of fight in here, right? Because it has this drag that's happening, right? But since we use high leverage, it doesn't affect us that much because we're high leverage, right? So we're the ones coming in when there's it has to bounce, it has to, retest, it has to make a move, right? And right now, all these coins are down so much that they have to actually bounce because somebody's gonna find this price and say, it's a pretty good price right now. Look how far it's down, because the people buy the dip, right? So we make money off the people that buy the dip. Now, when the daily becomes more of an upward motion, then our buying, it just gives us an increased opportunity, right? So the system's designed to where we don't need the daily. We just work off the 4 hour, right? And we can make money. We can actually make money off the 2 and the 1 hour on the C and B trades. The 4 hour solid Bs, and then when we move to 8, it's just bigger volume on the 4 hours, and that's just giving us more pull, right? The dailies don't affect us that much because it's too spanned out, right? There's a lot going on in between audio at that time, to where right now it's weak. So if I looked at audio here, I probably wouldn't take the long too serious here because it is kind of pulling down, right? I would say, right. And you could post that there. You can say, like, if you see that, you would just come over here and reply to that. Be like, the daily is still south. Weak.
Yo, VC.
Yeah.
Hey, could you look at OP right now? I think it's about to dump, even though it's got a lot of volume. It's like touching the 1 hour moving average.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
No, we gotta wait. I know it's early. You say don't enter till 3 trend, but just take a quick peek at that. The thing's been pumping the last 20 minutes.
OP. And just to finish up here, guys, on audio, like, you see how it's like fighting here? Now, because the daily is against us, I don't expect these things to go, 4 or 5%. You know what I mean? But if the daily was with us, then I'd be looking for this to be a big trade. So to kind of answer your question, daily comes into play when we start doing something more of like hodling, right? So let's say if you're doing a long position trade,
option.
Yeah, like you would basically see this and say, okay, when audio becomes, when this daily RSI starts to head back up, then I would look at audio to be more of a long, right? You would look at this right now and say, okay, if I'm hodling, I would have been sold when that RSI bent down right there. Should have sold way up here, and now you're not buying back until it starts to go the other way. Now, for the daily, it doesn't affect us that much because we are playing inside of the smaller zones, the 1 hour, which is 24 candles in one daily, right? So the daily doesn't really affect us. but it is, something you can use to say when you see it heading the other direction, then longs are a lot better, right? When it's heading this way, shorts are a lot better, right? So it just can give you some confidence in what you're trading and how much more you can make on there. To answer that, to kind of answer your question there.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll get into daily a little bit more. I know a lot. We just avoid it because it doesn't affect us that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's more for position trades, no?
Yeah, longer
Low
trades.
leverage position guys. That's what you'll hear talk about on guys on Twitter. They're only using 1, 2, 3, 5 leverage max, and they're worried about the daily, weekly, and monthly.
Yeah.
We're looking for those little mini moves, so we're in and out. We can hang out with our family.
Yeah, we got 24 candles in one daily. So we're going to have 48 candles minimum before the daily really affects us. But it's a good way to kind of like, give you an idea of, how much more you can be confident. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't really affect you.
BC, were you going to cover anything on fair value gap? I think you had that.
Yeah, so we're going to cover some fair value gap. Yeah, fair value gap. What was that? What was the OP? Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, like there might be an entry right now. But
yeah, so here, okay,
so
here's what he would post, right? And this is really what I want to cover strongly is like what he's seeing, right? And what he can post here just so that we can all be aware of this, right? If he's looking at all these things that are happening, he can post something like this, right? And you can put a $ OP, pumping. Okay, 1 hour almost topped, right? And that's what he can post. Now, your job is to evaluate that trade. You would jump over there. So right now, guys, take a look at OP, right? What would write some shit down, post that shit, and what you see in OP. Like what's the next move here? If you were looking at OP, go respond to that post there. I mean, I know kind of like where I would be immediately. Like for me, I'm always at the 4. You know what I mean?
Hey, BC, you're cutting off again.
How about that? That better? A little better for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, this is where you want to post on there what you see and kind of like respond to that post so that, people can see like what you're doing there, right? So for me, I would see this here and I can see where the 4 hour pushed up, got rejected. There was a big dump and now it's pushing back again, right? So for me, it's kind of like it's at its peak here, but it doesn't look like it's getting any weaker. So even though the 4 hours there, it hasn't crossed. So then I would slide down to the 2 hour and I can see where the 2 hour rejected the cross and I can see the 1 hour, right? So I would respond to that post right there and I would say something like this. OP looks strong. 2 hour cross rejected. 1 hour still room to run. Waiting for 1 hour red moon to see about a short option. See what I'm saying? I could look at that post and see that you looked at it. I could go look and see what you're saying. And I could see that the 2 hour rejected and the 1 hour does have room to run. So I can understand that. Remember, guys, 1 hours don't always get to the top and then go down. Sometimes they go flat, right? This is a lot of volume here. Like, I don't expect OP to be coming down anytime soon. Like, this is a big move here. Now, this is a good time to kind of point out what we were talking about longs, right? So anytime, and we'll slide down here to the 4 hour, right? So right here, here's your 4 hours. See your 4 hour breakup crosses right there. You catch a 4 hour moon right here, right? So you have this little pump that comes in what I'm looking for is that when I see the 4 hour push up and give me like a moon here, and what I'm looking for is my 1 hour, right? So when all that happens and I see this 1 hour bottom and I'm getting that, let me go ahead and mark this moon out here. So here's a 4 hour green moon showing me that there's a change of pace here coming towards the end, right? Not a lot of movement. Has a big dump at the end of that. Nothing special. Kind of runs up and starts to come across. And right here, it starts to break back up. Now, if I'm looking at my 1 hour, right, because I like the 1 hour, shot, right? What's the 1 hour? The 1 hour is green moon, green trend, red moon, reversal back to green moon on the 1 hour, right? And look at this big pump this 1 hour gives, right? 1 hour RSI moving with it. More than likely the 2 hour is probably going to be set up moving with it right here. You can see right there the 2 hour bounces all going right there. 2 in the 1 hour can set you up with very good B trades opportunities, right? B and C trades that make moves, and you can get your longs. But I don't see anything about here getting too weak anytime soon. The very first thing that I need here is a 1 hour red moon, and that's not even close. All right, more than likely this is going to pump. This looks really solid here. I mean, we're breaking into green here. There's a 2 hour. Here's your volume, right? And longs, the one thing I want to cover is when you see your moons come in, right? As soon as you get positive volume, which have been right here, right? We talk about this. We used to talk about this all the time. 1 hour green moon, positive volume, right? What you get right here. That's your trade, right? That trade would have been, geez, almost 150% on that. You would have got out. The 1 hour came back down, reset, hit another positive position here, and just went on a damn run. Right? This thing is not going to be slowing down anytime soon here. So if you're looking at that, I would definitely be looking at this thing to, yeah, this doesn't look like it's has any plans of stopping here. And then this is kind of where, you know, it's a good thing for Shane to point out. It's like you take a look here at the daily. Your daily just popped up, right? That's going to give you a nice little push there. So if you take a look there, this doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. This looks like it's going to be a big, big runner. But that's how I would post it right there.
See, for the new guys, you touched on a lot of good points. And one more thing, the couple guys asked me, and I would also like to know a little bit of detail if possible, but briefly, the crossing on RSI. Sometimes I ignore that, and I realize later on how it affects my trade. I mostly do shorts. But
yeah.
The crossing of RSI, could you just give a couple examples and stuff and what it does, how it reverses?
Yeah, so, I mean, you remember that a lot of times on the RSIs, you're going to have a little bit of a lag, right? And that's why when you're looking at, let's say you're looking at the 1 hour, right? I like to have it where it actually crosses over. So sometimes, like for instance, if you can see here on, like here on the 2 hour, sometimes you guys get a little excited and you jump the gun, which, hold on. I almost want to get in this OP trade. This thing's getting
OP's going off.
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting here watching this thing. It doesn't look like, and
yeah, I just grabbed 100% off of it.
Yeah, it's not no punk today. All right, so let's see what their setups, right? Okay.
I was about to jump in, but oh well.
No, it's rolling, man. All right, I'm gonna just do a little test around and see how it runs. And this is where, as soon as you get in, guys, stop loss, you throw in 20. I want to show you guys. I'm going to put 200% on this on my profit, and I'm going to come test and check it out a little bit later. And we'll let it run. It's going to pull back here for a little bit. Always put your stop loss. You guys can see how quick it moves here, right? So OP looks like it's going to continue to run, but let me know when you get to a 1 hour red moon on that, right? So 1 hour red moon would be my first, but for me, the 3 hour red moon is probably the one that I would be looking at. And the reason why is because, or at least the 2 hour red moon, right? Because I want confirmation that the fish is tired. You know what I mean? Like anytime you get a runner, you want that confirmation that it is, finally giving up, right? Because you got to remember, there's a lot of people in here that are going to be buying these positions or setting up buys in these positions that are kind of like buying the bounces. So the deeper, the longer the time frame, the better the odds of getting what you want, right? So I like trading trades that are more solidly set up, ready to go versus anything. So this will be a good short. We can track this trade for sure, and especially now that it's in the Discord, we can come back. 3-second trade. Yeah, I mean, it happens, right? So I would say, like, now when you post it there, we can come back and look at this trade and then basically see a decision on there. But yeah, put your stop losses in. OP is going to be moving, but it's a very hot coin right now. I'd probably dig into it's 3 minutes are rolling here. So for me, it would be okay. Another option here, like when these trades are kind of going crazy, wait for a 3-minute red moon to come in and then jump back in on a green when it comes back green, right? So give yourself time to kind of like, you're not going to miss anything as it moves, right? So that's kind of like something you guys can do. Don't be worrying about being too early or too late. Catch the runner, right? Here I would probably say, if something's running, say, oh, you know what? Let me catch a red moon. See how this red moon's about to come in? Let the red moon come on the 3-minute. When it goes back green, get yourself back into a trade into OP. That's how you should play that one right there. And so I think we just need to be where, let's just get to where we're posting everything correctly, and then we can review everything, right? And just allows us to come back and take a look, right? So we can take a look at that, and we can review that trade later. The other thing I was going to say is kind of like how to find coins, right? I think that's kind of what we were touching base, right? And this is something that I was talking to, who did I call earlier? I was touching base. Can't remember. But here's what, kind of like finding coins, right? So what you guys can do, I don't know if you guys do this, but how we find coins is we go to a thing called Coin Market Cap, right? And, we're so used to being in Coin Market Cap, and we go to a thing called cryptocurrencies. We go to gainers and losers, and we can see here that there's 6% on TWT. And then when I was talking to the guy earlier, he was like, what I do is, and he, reminded me, came up with a very simple thing. So you guys, what you can do is on your trading view, right, to find coins, all you have to do is there's a little box to your right, right? You guys can see my screen, my sharing still.
Yes, you are.
All right, now I'm gonna close out this video, and I'm gonna re-record this.